Hey folks, welcome to today's episode of It Shouldn't Happen to Us, where we're talking about the acres of diamonds salespeople typically are standing on and they don't even realize it. You're going to get some magic techniques today, how to really build your pipeline up and close some fantastic new business. Today we're talking about recapture, regain, recapture, and I think it'll be worth your time. Enjoy the pod. Straight from the heart of Miami, this is It Shouldn't Happen to Us. After 30 years of selling and training sales teams, we still screw it up sometimes. And this is where we tell you all about it, because it shouldn't happen to us. Hey, Sophia.
Hey, Carlos.
Nice to see you.
What's going on?
What's going on? Busy day, as always. I'm sure you are too. Busy bees. We're building businesses and we're building sales. And yeah. Busy. What about you?
Busy. I had a couple different sales calls, trained in Spanish, which is always a fun experience. And just good day. Good day. I'm really logging all my stuff in CRM, which just makes me feel holier than thou. But when I'm doing my CRM stuff, I'm a little, I get high off of it. I get a little,
I get it.
You know.
That's the key. That's where you go. You go sanctimonious. You go like, touch me not, my name's temptation. Yep. I'm the, I'm the queen of the CRM. And anybody who isn't utilizing the CRM with quite the efficiency I am, well then, I'm not sure I want to know you. You're certainly less than I am. You're certainly less than.
Yeah, that's it. And then when I'm not using the CRM, it's like, let's literally.
Yeah, I go through fits and starts. I'm actually. If you go and have a look, I've been reasonably good recently.
I've been seeing.
What are we going to talk about today?
So what have you got today?
I tell you what I want to talk about today. I think there's a real.
Okay.
I'm starting to notice a real opportunity out there in the with the teams that we support and all the teams that we help. I feel like people are struggling with the whole notion of recapture. Regain, recapture, that quadrant of the account planning map, that quadrant which is all about recapturing either those accounts that are dead or those accounts and depending on your business, the accounts that are dead. But some businesses, they don't know they're dead. They're just zombie accounts. One thing they know for sure, they haven't bought recently. But if I've not been to the morgue to identify the body, then maybe it's not dead. So they don't want to look too hard at it, right?
Yeah.
They don't want the bad news.
Right. So Carlos, regain, recapture. These are people who used to work with us, used to love us, and they're not anymore for whatever reason. Let me ask you this. What about anybody we've ever presented to? Anyone that's ever made it past, into a proposal quote presentation? Can those be regain, recapture? So that just came to me right now as you were saying it. Are those people to recapture, or is that more of, on the prospect?
Well, as always, Sophia, your question hits right at the sort of the semantics of it. Regain is bringing back an existing and a client, either bringing them back from the brink or bringing them back from the dead, right? That's a regain. A recapture, in my mind, broadens that set. It includes regain, but it also it recaptures, those prospects that you went down deep with, you had great pain conversation with. They were in your pipe. For me, it's have you ever been in my pipeline, which includes clients, because clients have been through the pipeline, right? So for me, the test is, and again, this is my model, the test is, have you been in my pipeline? If you've been in my pipeline, then it's a recapture. Now, it might be regain because you may have been a client, but it's a recapture. And, if you've done us, I actually find, for what it's worth, I find the recapturing of ex prospects actually a more interesting conversation to have than even a regaining a past client right. Sometimes. Because, when we have somebody in our pipeline, when we've got to know somebody and it's through our sales process, it's a pretty intimate process, right? I mean, it's not like X-rated, but it's an intimate process. It's like we actually, you don't say X-rated in America, you say R-rated, right? In England, you say X-rated, R-rated.
Well, X-rated would be
okay, then I got it right. Okay, so it isn't an X-rated intimate process, but it's a relatively intimate process. We come out with a a good relationship. And hey, you know what? If you've done a sales process well, whether you've won the deal or not won the deal, you've won a friend. You should have, if you've done it well. If you've handled that deal well, you've won a friend. And so that's absolutely a recapture in my mind. That's 100%. It's a corner of the account plan, a quadrant in the account plan that I believe, not everybody, because there's no absolutes in sales, but I believe that a lot of people neglect this corner, and there's gold in them there hills, Sophia.
Yeah.
Gold.
Yeah. Well, Carlos, I mean, I'll admit that that's a graveyard. I like to whistle past.
Whistle as you stroll past it.
Whistle past the graveyard. It's not, and it's for stupid reasons. It's just because, I think for me it was a talk track situation. Like, I remember when I first started at Absolute Sales Development, you and Antonio gave me this Excel spreadsheet of like 800 contacts, and it was a menagerie of regain, recapture, resurrection, whatever that means. It was just tons of people, and I was the new chick, and I was like, well, I made like 4 dials, and I noticed very quickly that I was like, hey, yeah, it's Sophia from Absolute Sales Development. Probably doesn't ring a bell, does it? And, they'd say, oh, yeah, or yes, or not really. Like, oh, well, we used to do some sales training or sales management training with your team, probably. Is that warmer? Oh, yeah, I remember you guys. And then they'd drag me through the weeds, and I realized I literally set myself up to have them take me down the rabbit hole of exactly why we're not working together. And you know what? It probably happened 3 to 4 times,
100.
and that was enough for me to like go, mope out of 800, right? To mope over to Antonio's office. And ask him like, hey, what is the right talk track, which we can talk about later. But he was like, and I don't think the talk track he gave me was very good either, because he said to say something like, or maybe it was good and I was just butchering it. I'll own that. But he said something to the extent of like, tell him like, hey, I'm the new chick here at Absolute Sales Development. The girl who was here before me, she wasn't very good at taking notes. And so I'm trying to sort out this list. We may have spoken about some sales development, or you may have been getting some sales training from us. It doesn't make sense to pick up where we left off or have a conversation about that. Your team is good, and that was maybe that's why I whistle past that graveyard. I don't know why. I'm sure our listeners probably have something or a similar reason, either a technical issue or a conceptual issue, or both.
It's usually one of those two, and usually the conceptual issue is the one that technical for our viewers and listeners. A technical issue is I don't know what to say. A conceptual issue is I know what to say, don't like how I feel when I say it. And the conceptual ones are always more of an impediment than the technical ones. However, the way you just delivered that line was actually pretty good. The way you in my opinion, my humble opinion, it was actually pretty good. Now, you got to remember, you're like 4 or 5 years on now. So your delivery of that is going to be way better now than it was then. Number one. Number two.
True.
You're a theater animal. If anybody's going to be able to pull that off, you are. But I wouldn't give the average bear that as a talk track. You may be, just because you can play a role better than anybody I know. I think there's always a risk if you are asking. And so for sales leaders out there, big important point. Don't ask your sales team to lie. Just don't. It's going to work rarely. Now you can pull it off. because you're Sophia. You can pull it off great.
The thing is, it was true.
Well, it was
It
kind
was
of true,
true.
but it wasn't authentic, right? It wasn't. Now,
Yeah.
what would I say if it were me? If I'm calling somebody up, I'm calling somebody up and I'm saying, well, actually, I have a bunch of things I go to, especially, well, really, I promise you, if you've been in my pipeline, if I've had a discovery, like a deep discovery with you, maybe 1 or 2 meetings, I'm telling you, you're my buddy. Like, you pick up the phone when I ring, even if you didn't buy. I don't mean, it doesn't matter. If it matters that much, that just means you're not prospecting enough, right? So, I have a bunch of go-to topics for when I do my regain recapture calls. Sometimes it's as simple as, George, love you lots like jelly tots. Haven't spoke to you for ages. Tell me what's going on in your world. That is entirely legit. There is also, George, thought about you today. This interesting thing happened, and I wanted to pick up the phone and remind you that I'm still around, still in town, and see if you need me for anything. That's entirely legit. And by the way, entirely honest. I would also have no problem with George. I was looking back at my notes. It's been 2 years since we worked together. In my experience, this is the right time to call you because the train's probably coming off the tracks. If it's a bad time, if this isn't the right time to call you, hey, kick me to the curb. No harm, no foul. You'll be on my Christmas card list forever, as always. But if it is the right time, if the team are suffering under the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, then hey, let's have a catch up. You tell me all about it and see if there's a way we can help. That's an entirely cool conversation to have too. And I get callbacks. I get people. I very rarely. Do you know this happened today? Remember Katie? Katie, if you're watching, I hope you are watching the pod. Katie,
yes.
You just sent me a call. You just sent me a voicemail this morning. I was in with a client when you called early. It was like 8:39 or whatever. I was with a client. I rang Katie with a love you lots like jelly tots recapture call about 2 months ago, 1 month ago, I can't remember, a while ago. And I left a voicemail and she didn't ring me back, which is rare enough for me to remember, right? If you make a dozen calls a day and nobody rings you back, then you don't remember the individuals. But this is the one that didn't ring me back. And I remember thinking maybe a few days later, Katie never rang me back. Very unusual. Anyway, forgot all about it, got on with life. She called me today with some, wow, Carlos, my phone has just delivered a bunch of old voicemails. I didn't even know were in there. Who knew? I feel like a heel. Give me a call back. I haven't actually called her back. Katie, I promise to call you. But I get people respond. I mean, it's very rare that somebody just ghosts me. If you've been in my pipeline. Now, I'm not claiming I've got some kind of magic wand. Oh, in fact, where's my magic wand? I'm not claiming that I've got some kind of magic wand to wave over a prospect. It's like a Disney star. To wave over a prospect, a cold prospect. I get it. But, if we've had a great conversation, if we've inspired one another, I remember who you are. You remember who I am. And we're having a chat and it's part of our follow-up. Hey, we're sales guys, right, Soph? We're not just we're sales guys before we're sales teachers and trainers, and you and I and our team. We're sales guys first. And I think that gives us a hell of a lot of permission to put our best foot forward, to regain, to do recapture. Hey, I got a no today. On a deal today. I got a no. We've decided. It's a big corporate. Tell you the truth, I was looking at it like, do I really want this? And it was a very nice email response that I gave, and we were going to jump on a telephone call, but neither of us could make it. And I said, hey, you got to give me some referrals, though, bud. I mean, we can't get this close and not give me some referrals because we're sales guys. That's that instinct, that reflex inside us. And I think that a lot of salespeople struggle with that mindset, that energy. They always want they always want to know, where's my new market? What new vertical can I attack? What new accounts can you give me, boss? What's the new technique, the new talk track? And they want all this new stuff. And they're stood on acres of diamonds, right? It's the diamonds are right beneath their feet. The gold is right there. All they've got to do is look down. They look down and say, wow.
I feel like sales people often want to talk about how they're going to do it and talk about doing it and don't just freaking just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I was with a client this morning talking about exactly this.
Yeah.
And they were saying, and it's interesting, right? So I asked one guy, and if you're watching, the team I was with, I asked one guy and he said, sometimes I can't remember why they haven't bought recently, and I'm worried that I'm going to be like exposed because I haven't got the information, and we moved from Pipedrive to Salesforce, and I've lost the notes or whatever. Another guy across the table from me said, I'm pretty sure that we blew it, and so I'm looking at it like, is this one that we blew and I can't remember? Did they have a problem and I can't remember? Another guy says, and all these questions are in the mind, and those questions are so big that it's stopping them picking up the phone. These questions, and I reminded them, all the things you just said, you don't know. You think maybe, but you don't know, right? Even if they blew it, even if you blew it, whatever, you fell out, there was a service spill or a quality spill or whatever, you blew it. You're still assuming that A, they remember. Well, first of all, A, it's the same buyer in that organization. B, they remember.
Right.
C, they took it real seriously. I mean, there's a lot of assumptions there. You just don't know. But there is one thing you do know. They knew enough about you to buy from you at some point. They liked you enough to buy from you or get into your set. They liked something enough to engage with you at some point. You know that for sure. All the rest is guesswork. Maybe. The one thing makes this the warmest call in the world. And the 10 things you don't know, you creating a barrier. Those 10 things are bricks in a wall that stop you, just going to the field that's got acres of diamonds in it. It's understandable from a human perspective, but it's pretty nutso, right?
It is pretty nuts. So what made you think of Regain, Recapture?
Just because
today?
I've had this conversation I had the Katie call, I had the call with the training with some clients. I've just I've been, it's been on my mind. A lot of my clients, I'm looking at them like, you guys, you're not engaging. You're not opening the door for someone to come back. You're not giving somebody permission to even get curious about what it might look like to come back. You're like, what is it you always say? It's like, it's like, how do you always do it with, your ex-boyfriend with a new, with his new girlfriend, right?
Yeah. I know you're buying from someone else, and who might that be? It makes you feel like you're asking him like, hey, so I know you got a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Who is she?
Who is she? Do I know her? Who is she?
What's her Instagram handle?
Let me have a look.
A little bit.
Yeah, let's have a look. Yeah, nothing special. Yeah, really? Is this it? Downgraded. Yeah. If you want it to feel, you know what? The scorecard's in the bank. The scorecard of sales in the bank. And, you've got there the warmest call of all. Somebody who knows you. Used to love you. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Doesn't really matter. It's the warmest call of all.
So how, in your mind, how I just sent today like 10 9-word emails.
The Dean Jackson 9-word email. I love that. You still buying sales training? Yeah. That's a brilliant 9-word. You still buying sales training? Your team still need training? Question mark. That's it. No.
Is your team I said, is your team getting sales training?
That's it. 9-word email. It's the beautiful. Now, I hope it didn't have at the top, hi, George. Doesn't even need that. Nope. Nope.
I just put I made the subject line their first name. How
Yeah.
primitive. Bob.
Do you know? Do you know the genesis of the Dean Jackson 9-word email? Do you know where that was born from?
I remember that video you sent us, and I loved
brilliant.
it. I don't. Where was that?
It was
born
it
from?
was a technique for sort of e-shoppers, Shopify type e-carts. It was a technique for abandoned carts that had extraordinary success. So, you're buying magic wands. Look at my magic wands. So you're buying plastic magic wands and you put them in your cart, and then you abandon the cart for whatever reason. You didn't buy it, you didn't hit pay, you didn't hit buy, whatever you didn't hit. I think he's probably adjusted it now, but I think the original guidance was it's a 30-day process. It might have been a 2-week process. So 2 weeks after the cart is abandoned, the simple email, 9-word email goes out. You still interested in magic wands, or whatever, pens, whatever it was that was in the cart. That's it, question mark. The return on that investment, it was extraordinary. And I forget the stats now, but it was an extraordinarily powerful re-engagement technique. But that's all it is. It's for abandoned carts, but it's a re-engagement technique. It works brilliantly for whatever you sell, even if it's not an abandoned cart. Your team's still getting... I actually like, for us, your team's still getting sales training because still is quite assumptive, right? Still is... your team's still getting trailed because that assumes they bought it from somebody, right? I think that's quite provocative. Like that word still, I think, is quite provocative. Your team's still getting sales training? Question mark, send.
I like that.
I like it's a very provocative approach. It warms them up. You'll get a response or you won't, and here's the key. It doesn't matter if they respond or not. There's a call that follows. All that does is just soften the ground up. Your team's still getting sales training. That can be done at mass, and then I would always be picking up the phone.
And so how do we chip away at something like this? I would say download or check your CRM and find that dusty list of people that used to love us, and for whatever reason, and the reason agnostic, for some reason they're not with us anymore. Don't let that scare you away. And pick 10 every week, top 10 that you're gonna ping. You're gonna call them, maybe the 9-word email, a LinkedIn voice note. I'm quite liking the LinkedIn voice note lately.
I'm enjoying the LinkedIn video. The video note. They just point the phone directly at your face, and it just does a beautiful video. It's really good.
Yeah.
I like the LinkedIn video.
10 a week.
But do you know what you can do? You can go back in your calendar and you can pick, if you have a regular cadence of this, and if you are a diligent calendar user, if you're diligent about everything you do going in your calendar, which I'm pretty diligent about that. No, not everything, but I'm very
diligent.
You can go back a year, whatever this week was, 52 weeks ago, and 104 weeks ago. So go back 1 year, 2 year, just have a look at what meetings you had. There'll have been some clients in there. There'll be some customers meetings in there. There'll be some prospect meetings in there that you had a meeting with. I'm telling you, any week should give you diamonds.
People you haven't thought of in ages.
There'll be centers of influence. There'll be referral partners, stuff that you haven't spoken to for ages. That's the whole point. And you pick up the phone. If it was a referral partner, you pick up the phone. George, it's been too long. I don't send you any referrals anymore. I feel like a heel. That's a great opening.
Well, you want to know what's real primitive? What I do? I flip my sent box upside down. I'll take my sent box. I'll take my sent box and put the oldest emails on
just
top.
Filter through.
And I'll just filter through. And it's also a little, I'm not going to lie, it's a little bit of an ego boost too, because you're like, damn, I do good work, man. Like, God loves a trier, right? I mean, like, I've spoken to a lot of people in 4.5 years.
It's
pretty amazing.
But it's pretty good. That harkens right back to the old David Sandler, advice. You never open the phone book up and ring, Aaron Abrahams. You open the phone up and start with Zelda Zlotowicz. That's where you start, because nobody rings Zelda.
Right.
It's the same kind of philosophy, right? Start at the bottom. But honestly, if you go back 12 months, right? If you're out there and you're a salesperson, if you're watching our podcast, I hope you're a salesperson, and I hope you get inspired I hope you get so inspired every week that you click the subscribe, because that's kind of our payment. Our payment for bringing you that, market leading, cutting edge, honest techniques and
our end of the bargain.
Our part of this is bring you good stuff. Your part of this, it's expensive. You got to get on subscribe. You got to hit subscribe. You got to hit like. You got to hit the bell so you get a notification. Hey, I don't even know how these technologies work. So, but here's the next thing you do. Go and have a look at your calendar 12 months ago. 12 months ago. Everybody you spoke to 12 months ago, make it your business this week to call them all. Call them all. If it's an existing customer that's still a customer, great. Ask for a referral. If it's an ex-customer, great. Ask them who they're getting, who they're working with now, and are they loving it? And here's the technique. Who you're working with now, they're great. Tell me what you love about them. Tell me what you hate about them. Tell me what you used to love about us. Tell me what we did, the fall on the sword technique. Tell me how we blew it. And you have a conversation, and I'm telling you now, it's quite amazing. 20%-ish, 10 to 20% of those conversations, they'll turn into a proper sales call. Another proper sales call that then you schedule as a proper sales call. If it was a prospect, you're opening up a sales call again. If that meeting 12 months ago was a prospect, you're opening up the sales call again. If that meeting 12 months ago was just a buddy of yours then that you haven't spoke to for ages, then pick up the phone and speak to a buddy. It'll be really good for your ego, really good for your karma and for your and for your self-concept. It's a great technique, that, Sophia. Just go back 12 months.
I think that's beautiful. Beautiful. Well said,
So,
Carlos.
What's the big takeaways from today, Sophia? What are the big takeaways?
I think we've given our listeners that we're so grateful for an out-of-the-box way to build your pipeline. The traditional stuff is good, but you might, like you said, you might be standing on top of riches. It might be just under your nose. And we bend over backwards and we get so creative. Really check out the Recapture Regain list.
Check it out. Pull it from your CRM, pull it from your calendar, have a real good, honest, authentic conversation. And you know what? One thing's for sure, you'll feel better about yourself after it, and you might get more business. Then don't be worried about some pretend demons that might not even exist. Those conceptual barriers are stealing from you, stealing from you, stealing from your family, stealing from your success, and they're not even real. You've imagined half of those demons in your head.
Nope.
So, guys, thanks for joining us. That's the pod. It's goodbye from Sophia.
And goodbye from Carlos. Thanks,
Take care.
guys.
Good selling.